Can I check, it's not unreasonable then for the reporting that was done, apologies I can't remember exactly when this reporting was done, in comparison to now looking to bring this to committee in January 2025, it's considered that that is not an unreasonable length of time in between those two things. I appreciate what you said about significant changes, etc. About
yes, so the flood risk assessment and hydraulic report were actually updated in October 2025 as part of those changes to the application. And what that change was that they were slightly moving the bund from where it was positioned in the flood risk assessment that was originally submitted as part of the application. So there was an actual update. So that is the most up-to-date assessment that has been submitted. So it is only a couple of months old actually, between now and the planning committee.
Councillor Sampson.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to say first thanks to the officers, because I think you've been very upfront about where this kind of falls in and out of normal development, so we can make a really informed decision about where we want to kind of do things differently from things that wouldn't have come to committee, because the answer is clear. I think very reluctantly, I don't see how I could personally vote to approve this, and everyone who comes to this committee knows that it's extremely rare that I would vote against any sort of housing development for the needs that have been outlined around the housing crisis. But the policy of the green wedge is very clear, the boundary of the road is very clear, and the additional risk of floodplain that I've seen dozens of times in the kind of 2 to 3 years I've lived in that area makes me feel that I don't think I can make a special case for building on this area that has been protected for a reason. And I know that's very sad, particularly me.
Margaret, I would let everybody speak.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ralph, would you like to speak? Yes, please.
So I'm not really here. Thank you, Chair. Just sort of simple question, but probably not a simple answer. You mentioned early on that the bund would be on the 3 sides and would protect the site from flooding. How can we be assured that this is future-proofed against inevitable climate change, say in 5-10 years' time? What if the bunds are breached or fail in some way? Who is financially responsible for securing that housing development should that happen?
Thank you.
So the bund has been designed to take account of the 1 in 100 flood event, which is appropriate for the southern sections of the site, and taking account of climate change. So it does take that into consideration. It has been designed to a height to do that. There is a condition that seeks the further details of the bund, the maintenance of the bund, and you'll see on the green sheet as well, to also secure it in perpetuity.
Application. You'll all know that affordable homes has been a real matter of concern for me in my tenure as a councillor. But hearing what I've heard this evening and reading the reports, I believe this is a high risk to the city. It's not in the local plan. It's speculative, and I think it's inappropriate and misuse of the green wedge, as other councillors have said. I suggest this puts the city, property owners and housing sustainability at a greater risk. I think the harm overlooking is setting a precedent for future developments. I would like to be clear that we are weighing these well. Could you give me a little bit more insight to how you weigh up the risk of flooding, which seems to be the material issue that has been brought to this council this evening, over all that you see is good?
we've seen the committee report and the presentation, we have weighed up the harm and benefits of the scheme. So we've assessed the harm. Flooding is not included as part of that weighted balance and assessment because we consider the flood impacts acceptable through the various mitigation measures and through no objections being raised by the Environment Agency.
Just to come back, over the period of time of this application, I visited those sites multiple times in multiple conditions and have my own photographic evidence of some of the flooding that's taken place there. So I think we should listen carefully to what's been said here today and make our determination based on the information that we've been provided.
In my opinion, I rarely disagree with officers, but on this occasion, I cannot remember an application that I'm more unhappy with. I absolutely accept the need for affordable housing and the impact on the planning balance, but in view of the shortcomings of this site, I really can't agree that it's appropriate in this time. The council places great weight and emphasis on the protection of the green wedge, and I'm surprised that the recommendation is to approve development here. And I'm also, like a lot of other people, who are concerned of potential for precedents and the gradual erosion of the green wedge is often a slippery slope. However, if the principle of development here is overcome, as far as the exceptional circumstances, there is a host of other issues which make this site unacceptable, in my opinion. For example, the heritage and conservation area. The comment was no benefits resulted from this application that would outweigh the harm to the heritage assets. To me, this weighs significantly against the application, as once the damage is done, it can't be repaired. The removal of 30 trees, some protected, along with 2 groups and 2 woodlands. The officer report states that this would normally be resisted. Again, it's a negative point on that. Flooding, I won't dwell much on that because that's already been done. I've lived here for 30 years and I've seen the area myself flooded exceptionally. I won't say any more than that. The gift of the land, the application implies that the land is required to join up this side of the river with a new country park at Sandford Mill. I don't believe this is so. There is a significant network of public rights of way which give considerable public access to that land already. And just a point from what the planning officer mentioned, public rights of way are definitive and enshrined in law and kept in perpetuity. There is, regardless of land ownership, it is very unusual for public rights of way not to be kept in perpetuity. So that, to me, whilst the gift of the land is undoubtedly a plus point, in no way, for me, does it make the scheme acceptable and doesn't place any weight in the planning balance for me. The scheme, it's going to the scheme itself. If we overcome all of that, we're going to look at the scheme itself. It doesn't comply with minimum standards as far as parking, the play space, the back-to-back and flank distances, garden sizes on several plots. The list goes on. And again, in my thoughts really, leaving aside the principle of development here, if this scheme had been a normal scheme, normal commercial scheme, and I'm talking about the actual buildings themselves now, it would probably not have got to this stage, and it just seems that it's almost just maybe, but it's okay, it's affordable housing, and to me that doesn't sit right with me. And really weighing up the balance, I cannot support this application, and I would suggest refusal on the following grounds, which is development in the green wedge which conflicts with the local plan, the heritage and conservation area development conflicts with the local plan, the removal of large numbers of trees, some being protected, and the development itself does not conform to policy standards. Thank you, Chair.
It's important now. Does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Chair. It was raised actually last week about management plans for the conservation areas and the lack of us having them as a council, and it seems a shame in this case that we don't have a management plan that we can better assess the harm on this conservation area against, because that would give us the specific characteristics of this conservation area that should be maintained and enhanced, and without that we're all going off the bits about it we love, so that's a shame. It's a shame actually also in the local plan that we don't possibly have a broader depth of information ourselves to check some of the claims against, and obviously there is lots of detailed information, but some of that information goes against other information that we've seen, and it would be nice if we had an independent cross-check against that, which we don't have fully at this time. So the scheme itself, you started almost with everything of why we would normally not approve this, and then we contrasted it back against the sort of exceptions. The exceptions are really important ones, and I do really hold that. But unfortunately, I feel the exceptions that we're holding against are issues of either national government problems or our local problems that we are empowered to fix. I mean, we could make more areas of Chelmsford greener and connected, and therefore would have equal benefit. We could provide affordable homes, although it's hard and there's challenges against. It's difficult. And then the benefit of the sort of green space back, it just sort of seems like, have we investigated this site fully enough? Because there's so many benefits to us that it will save us money and provide us housing and provide us lots of green space, that have we possibly, is that making the site shinier than it should be, and could all those mitigations be provided by ourselves in a better location? So that's what I'm slightly concerned about.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak? Councillor Trustowner.
Yeah, it's a very difficult case because there's very finely balanced on both sides. There's so many strong arguments on both sides of the question. I am very persuaded by Councillor Foster's speech about the affordable housing. I know people are desperately in need of it, and this site is between, it's on the road, it's on the edge of the urban area, and there's the road on one side and housing on the other and the shopping centre, so I don't feel that it would be very intrusive. Also, I mean, I walk past this area regularly. I know it does flood, but the water is mainly on the southern section, just on the southern section of the site, and I think the bund would protect it. But I'm very torn, because I also would like to protect the green wedge, which I think is very important. It's a very difficult balancing act, but I'm inclined to put more weight onto the affordable housing.
Councillor Wilson.
I think my views are fairly simple on this. But I think the green wedge is absolutely paramount, and therefore I'll be voting to refuse this application for the reasons, all the reasons that previously said, because I think it's in the wrong place. It doesn't need to be here. It needs to be elsewhere.
Thank you. Councillor Dobson has put forward. Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair. So I just wanted to comment again a little bit about my decision, and a lot of what Councillor Dobson said I agree with about the site itself. I think, as kind of raised earlier, that if this was an application that wasn't affordable housing, I think there's quite a lot of issues with it. In terms of the flooding, I do think as a planning committee we have to look at the statutory consultees and so look at what they say and follow their guidance. I absolutely understand why, therefore, we would be saying that the flooding isn't a primary concern, and for me it isn't a primary concern. when I was reading the report, it's the balance between the harm and the affordable housing, and I absolutely hear the people on the housing register who need affordable housing and need four-bedroom houses. I absolutely hear that. But the harm being done on this site, there's so many harms in the list that I think ultimately I'll have to vote against this application.
Okay, thank you. We have a suggestion from Councillor Dobson. Can you put that again, please? Your reasons.
Oh, sorry, apologies. I've got 2 minutes of paper, I'm all over the place. Would you like me to know, would you ask for a proposal? Okay, in that case, I propose that application number 23-01105, if you will, is refused on the basis of development in the green wedge, which conflicts with the local plan, the heritage and conservation area, conflicting with the local plan, which I believe is DM13, removal of large number of trees, some being protected, which I believe comes under DM17, and the development itself does not conform to policy standards, which I believe comes under DM23. I'm sure that there are far better wording than that than I can, but that, to me, is the basis of refusal.
Thank you. Do you have a second? Councillor Thorpe, you have a proposal and a second.
We do, Chair, but just to remind you, the normal procedure for the committee is that the committee are minded.
I have to take it further.
So, can I clarify, if this is a proposal to actually refuse the application on the night, we will have to have detailed wording for the reasons for refusal, and normal practice is a proposal to defer, because the committee are minded to refuse it for those reasons, and we will bring it back with detailed reasons for refusal, as is.
Yes, I concur. That is exactly the word. So that is the proposal, and we have all those in favour of refusal. Thank you. Any abstentions? I'm going to be an abstention. So therefore, the application has been refused. For, wait a minute. Thank you. Any abstentions? I'm going to be an abstention. So therefore, the application has been refused. For, wait a minute.
The application, as I understood it, Chair, the application has been deferred until the next meeting.
We have to come back with the reasons that we have to accept those reasons. So, staff member is quite correct. It will come back next time for the reasons to see if we can accept those reasons. Okay, thank you everybody.
Thank you, councillors.
That is the proposal, and we have all those in favour of refusal. So therefore, the application has been refused. For, wait a minute.
The application, as I understood it, Chair, the application has been deferred until the next meeting.
Just with you.
We have to come back with the reasons that we have to accept those reasons. So, staff member is quite correct. It will come back next time for the reasons to see if we can accept those reasons. Okay? Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors.
Right.